The worst dressed musician from the 1970s. Who are you picturing? Because I'm not saying these fashion choices didn't work for them, but you have to admit they do look a little kooky. So here they are, our favorite musicians from the 1970s with some truly bizarre fashion statements. Now we're gonna start with the tastefully tacky and work our way toward the full-on space cowboy chaos, but buckle up, it's gonna get sequiny. ABBA. Alright, we're gonna ease in with Sweden's finest export, ABBA. Cause at first glance, their looks were just disco chic, matching jumpsuits, platform boots, and satin everything. But those outfits had a lot of layers, ruffles, sparkles, and bell-bottoms so wide you could parachute with them.
To be free, I bet he wouldn't fancy me. That's too bad.
You almost needed sunglasses just to look at them, even before the stage lights hit. But the best part was somehow they made it look classy. When Dancing Queen played, they didn't sound like royalty, they looked like it. And their coordinated outfits, well, that gave them almost like a fairy tale quality.
You are the dancing queen, young and sweet.
And even when they were decked out in what looked like bedsheet capes or metallic embroidery, they just oozed charm. Yeah, you could laugh at the get-ups, but you couldn't deny their power. These four knew exactly what they were doing.
Super trooper lights are gonna find me shining light.
And the truth is, well, ABBA dressed for joy. They were the glittering dream of the disco era, right at the point when music, fashion, and performance started blending into one big Technicolor moment. Their fashion choices may have raised eyebrows, but they also opened the floodgates, proving that stage wear didn't have to make sense, it just had to shine. The Bay City Rollers. Next up, the tartan tornado that was the Bay City Rollers. Picture a Scottish boy band who got into a fight with a fabric store and lost. Plaid pants, plaid scarves, plaid everything. And it wasn't even subtle plaid. They wore it in strips and patches across cuffs, collars, and pant legs. It was the kind of fashion that made mom say, "Are they serious?" while you scrambled to cut up your bedsheet and tie it around your wrist. The teen girls loved them, and that wasn't by accident. The rollers were engineered for adoration, and their look was part of that fantasy. There was something soft and goofy about their style, boyish, safe, and just rebellious enough to annoy your dad. They were the clean-cut alternative to glam rock's glitter punks, and the plaid helped sell that image. Even if they looked like walking picnic tables, fans weren't laughing, they were kinda swooning. In hindsight, their fashion felt like a cross between the Beatles' mania and early Saturday morning cartoons. It was all about being bright, bouncy, and instantly recognizable. And love it or hate it, no one ever forgot those outfits. The Village People. Now, here's a group that didn't just wear costumes, they were costumes. A cop, a construction worker, a Native American chief, a cowboy, a biker, and a soldier. Each one larger than life and styled to the max. Their look was half Halloween, half disco, and all unforgettable. Honestly, you didn't need to know a single lyric to know exactly who they were. Just one glimpse and suddenly you were spelling out YMCA with your arms. Like muscle memory kicking in at a wedding reception. And here's the kicker. It worked better than anyone expected. The Village People turned stereotypes into spectacle, and they did it with full commitment and just the right wink. Their exaggerated uniforms weren't just for fun, they were branding gold too. Whether you were 8 or 80, you couldn't forget the cowboy hat, the mirrored sunglasses, or that leather biker vest. I mean, come on. Yeah, it was camp, but it was also so colorful and fun. And it gave disco a sense of theater that just pulled people onto the dance floor. What made their style so brilliant was how they invited everyone in. They weren't trying to be cool, they were trying to be bold. And in the 1970s, yeah, bold won. But don't get too comfortable on the dance floor. Our next stop is the glitter-drenched glam rock scene, where boots were high, collars were wide, and subtlety was left at the door.
So that's why I have no protest.
Slade. Now we're talking glitter and platform boots that could snap your ankle just looking at them. Slade weren't trying to look cool, they were trying to look louder than their guitars.
See, she's a queen, and I know she's a...
They showed up in mirrored top hats, sparkly jumpsuits, and enough hair to qualify as their own glam rock ecosystem. Noddy Holder, the band's frontman, looked like someone had smashed a disco ball and glued the shards to a Victorian ringmaster. And yet somehow it all made perfect sense when he screamed, "Merry Christmas, everybody." Let's face it, their fashion screamed too. We're here to party and possibly explode. They weren't subtle, they were seismic. Every appearance felt like a glitter bomb had gone off in a thrift store. They embraced every clashing color, every overdone pattern. And they made it their mission to be the most unforgettable band on the bill. The look matched the music, big, boisterous, and meant to shake the walls of every teenage bedroom across Britain and beyond. Slade didn't just lean into glam, they helped define it, and their outfits gave permission for future rockers to stop worrying about looking tough and just go for broke. They may not have cracked the US charts the way others did, but visually, well, they were hard to top.
A new temptations, how does it feel?
Cher. Of course Cher was gonna be on this list, the woman who made sequins look subtle. Every time she stepped onto a TV set, it was like the screen had been dipped in glitter. Bob Mackie gowns with plunging necklines so daring that network censors freaked. And headdresses so towering they could double as small tables. She treated each appearance like a Vegas runway show, draping herself in fringe, feathers, and enough rhinestones to outshine a disco ball. Cher didn't just wear those outrageous outfits, she owned them.
Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter.
There was a fearless confidence in the way she moved, as if every stitch had been stitched with self-assurance. She blurred gender expectations before people even talked about that, making it okay for women and men to see fashion as performance art. Watching her strut across the stage in leather bodysuits or slinky metallic numbers, we felt like we were witnessing something revolutionary. And let's be honest, part of the magic was how it all felt so now. From family living rooms to neighborhood sock hops, everyone stopped mid-conversation to catch a glimpse of what Cher was wearing. She turned television into front row tickets for a couture spectacle. Teaching us that style was an extension of personality and attitude. Speaking of otherworldly confidence and attitude, it's time to revisit the starman himself. David Bowie as Ziggy Stardust. Ziggy Stardust wasn't just a character, it was a glam rock alien from another dimension. David Bowie created an entire persona that shattered the idea of what a rock star could look like.
I think my spaceship knows which way to go.
with that flame orange mullet, skin-tight metallic jumpsuits, and a painted lightning bolt slashing across his face. He seemed like he just teleported from a glittery galaxy light years away. I mean, you didn't just watch Bowie, you tried to figure him out. And that was part of the brilliance. Ziggy made you think about the identity, the performance, and the mask we all wear.
But the day breaks instead, so you hurry home.
He wasn't trying to blend in, he was holding up a mirror to everything loud, strange, and fabulous about the decade. Bowie's look said, I can be whoever I want, and it gave permission to a generation to play with self-expression.
Put your right gun to my
Whether it was through makeup, clothes, or music that bent all the rules, Ziggy Stardust burned brightly and briefly, but his fashion legacy is still beaming down from wherever that spaceship landed. David Bowie proved that weird wasn't just welcome, it was also very powerful.
Became a special man, and then we were Ziggy's band.
And if Ziggy came from space, the next guy looked like he owned it. Prepare yourself for star-shaped sunglasses, moon boots, and a bass player who dressed like funk royalty from another planet, because Bootsy is incoming.
5 years stuck on my eyes. 5 years.
Bootsy Collins. Now we're getting into the cosmic funk zone. Bootsy Collins didn't just get dressed, he transformed. This was a man who strutted on stage in thigh-high platform boots, shimmering capes, and suits loud enough to knock your socks off through a TV.
Fishing in the sea of love, I got embraced by the heavens above.
His signature star-shaped sunglasses were more than eyewear, they were a declaration. And his bass guitar, it looked like he was ready for interstellar travel, because Bootsy wasn't just playing funk, he was piloting it. He actually called it his funk armor, and it fit in more ways than one. Because when Bootsy hit the stage, he became larger than life. His outfits were outrageous, but they were not random. They were crafted with intention, to entertain, to mesmerize, and to put the fun in funk.
Everything good is nasty, but it ain't no good unless you.
He'd bounce across the stage like a comic book hero from another dimension, laying down bass lines that made you want to boogie and stare in belief at the same time. And in a way, Bootsy was a superhero, one with groove instead of a cape, though let's be honest, he had plenty of capes. But Bootsy wasn't just doing this alone, he was part of a bigger, bolder universe, and the man who brought him into that wild orbit was about to take things to an entire new level. But before we board that mothership, let's make a stop at a rocket man who turned every piano bench into a front row seat at a feather explosion. Yeah, Elton's next. Elton John. Of course we had to include Elton. I mean, he was gonna be number one, but I had to bump him down. Because Elton John didn't just flirt with flamboyance, he got down on one knee and proposed to it.
You are other than me. Do you still feel the pain?
One night it was a feather boa so long it had its own zip code, and the next it was a Dodgers uniform covered in Swarovski's crystals. And who could forget the time he walked on stage in a full-blown sequined Donald Duck costume, complete with tail feathers and orange tights? It was absurd, and it was theatrical. Boy, it was Elton.
Those are the sweetest eyes I've ever seen.
What's wild is, it never felt like a gimmick. Elton John wore his wildest outfits the way most people wear a good pair of jeans. Comfortably, confidently, like it was the most natural thing in the world. His eyewear alone was a spectacle. Hearts, stars, shutters, glitter, sometimes all in one. But somehow, he made it work, because at the end of the day, it matched the music.
I think it's gonna be a long, long time. Touchdown brings me round like you do.
If you're belting out Rocket Man while pounding a grand piano, you might as well look like you launched that rocket yourself. Or you're up there with the rocket in orbit. His style wasn't just decoration, it was storytelling. Every cape, every oversized collar, every bedazzled hat was part of the Elton John experience.
My future life beyond
He turned concerts into costume parades, and boy, we loved every second of it. But while Elton was dazzling in diamonds, our next act went full gothic horror. Get ready for a man who wore snakes, smeared eyeliner, and looked like he just escaped a haunted glam opera.
On the close up, time to dance.
Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper brought the nightmare, and we couldn't look away. Long before Marilyn Manson or Rob Zombie, Alice was out there in black leather pants, blood-smeared makeup, and Victorian blouses.
What you say, no matter what you do, long as it is me and you.
Looking like a rock and roll Dracula with a bad attitude and a stage budget. He didn't just walk on stage, he crept on, dragging props, fog, and a theatrical sensibility that hadn't been seen in rock before. And yes, he really did perform with live snakes. Yes.
You better save me.
Nothing says good evening quite like a boa constrictor wrapped around your mic stand. But for all the horror and shock, it was pure theater. Alice Cooper knew he was playing a character. The eyeliner, the top hats, the guillotine acts were all part of a show. He was equal parts Vincent Price and Chuck Berry, blending monster movie aesthetics with heavy guitar riffs. It really wasn't about trying to look cool, even though I kind of think he did. It was about committing to a vision so outrageous that it became cool. Kids loved rebellion. And the parents, well, yeah, they were horrified, which of course made it so much better. His look was dark, campy, and absolutely unforgettable. Alice Cooper didn't just push the envelope, he shredded it with a switchblade and set it on fire.
We are building a house of fire every time we touch.
Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe the most outrageous of them all, George Clinton of his Parliament Funkadelic army. These weren't just musicians, they were interstellar funk beings on a mission to blow your mind. George strutted out in rainbow dreadlocks, glittering robes, lab coats, fur-lined superhero capes, sometimes all at once. And let's not forget Bootsy Collins reappearing with his star-shaped bass, or the guitarist who made an entrance in a giant diaper. Oh yeah, and the spaceship. It really descended onto the stage. Parliament Funkadelic concerts weren't concerts, they were events. They mixed James Brown-level grooves with the visuals of a cosmic fever dream. Clinton called it P-Funk, but it might as well have been funk from another planet. There were themes, there were characters, there were storylines. Whole Afro-futurist narratives that played out under strobe lights and clouds of glitter smoke. It was funk meets sci-fi meets spiritual awakening, and it hit you in the ears, the eyes, and the soul. George Clinton didn't dress to impress, he dressed to transport. He built an entire universe through music and style that people are still trying to imitate.
We're gonna turn this motherfucker out. We're gonna turn.
Gary Glitter. Now, Gary Glitter didn't just dress for the stage, he dressed like the stage. Drenched in sequins, skin-tight silver suits, and platform boots that looked weaponized, Glitter didn't perform so much as blind you from across the arena. His glam rock image was pure spectacle, like Ziggy Stardust on a Vegas bender, complete with a haircut that looked like it lost a fight with a blender. He strutted around like a disco robot. Wrapped in enough tinsel to decorate every Christmas tree in Britain, subtlety just was not on the set list. But say what you will, he committed. The hair, the glitter, of course, the capes that screamed space dictator. It was all part of a persona that demanded attention, no matter how ridiculous he got. Because Glitter wasn't trying to be fashionable, he wanted to be unforgettable. Mission accomplished, for better or for worse. The New York Dolls. The New York Dolls walked out of the 1970s looking like a glam explosion in a punk club, with teased hair, smudged lipstick, high heels, and boas for days. They blurred every gender line and most fashion rules before their first guitar chord even hit.
It's gonna be a showdown.
They looked like they got dressed in a drag queen's closet during an earthquake. But that was the point. The Dolls weren't here to blend in. They were here to provoke, to preen, to punch you in the face with a mascara wand.
Well, it's all gonna be a shame when you start to scream and shout.
Their trash glam aesthetic wasn't polished, but it was powerful. It was rebellion with eyeliner, sleaze with a side of satire. Every ripped fishnet and leopard print coat was a middle finger to the mainstream. And even if you hated it, you remembered it. And that was the whole point. Kiss. Kiss didn't wear outfits. They wore armor, giant platform boots, studded codpieces, black and white war paint, and enough leather and chrome to upholster a fleet of motorcycles. They honestly looked like demon wrestlers from a heavy metal comic book. Their onstage look was more costume than clothing, part monster movie, part sci-fi nightmare, part Saturday morning cartoon. Gene Simmons breathed fire. Paul Stanley had a star in his eye. And the whole band looked ready to battle Thanos instead of play a guitar solo. But it worked. Kiss created a look so over the top, it stopped being bad and started being iconic. They weren't trying to look good, they were trying to look like gods, and to a lot of fans, I think they actually pulled it off. Liberace. Liberace didn't walk into a room, he descended from the chandelier. With rhinestone capes, feathered collars, sequin tuxedos, and pianos that matched those outfits. Liberace made Elton John look like a minimalist. Every outfit was a glittering monument to excess, and that was just a Tuesday. He didn't care about trends. Liberace dressed like royalty from another planet. And yes, it was gaudy. Yes, it was theatrical, but it was also pure spectacle, dialed up to 11. Liberace was a one-man parade, and while rock stars were trashing hotel rooms, he was floating through casinos on a mirrored piano. Call it tacky, call it fabulous, just don't call it forgettable. Grace Jones. Grace Jones didn't wear clothes, she wore statements. Futuristic headpieces, sculptural shoulder pads, razor-sharp suits, and the occasional nothing but body paint moment. Her look was angular, alien, and aggressively androgynous, like a Bond villain designed by Salvador Dali. She didn't bend fashion like the clocks, she broke it in half and rebuilt it in her image. With Grace, every outfit was part of a bigger performance.
I'm not perfect, but keep go up and down.
Her look wasn't just bold, it was confrontational, challenging you to look away and daring you to try. Some called it bizarre, others called it genius. But whether she was wrapped in latex or painted gold, Grace Jones never looked like anyone else, and that was exactly the point. There you have it, 15 musicians or bands who broke every rule, ransacked every closet, and somehow made it all work. The 70s didn't just sound different, it looked different too. So which musician was your favorite? What was the best look? Was it Elton's Dodger sparkle suit, Cher's gravity-defying headdresses? Or maybe you've got a soft spot for the guy who played bass like a thunderbolt while dressed like a cosmic superhero, Bootsy, we see you. Also, did I leave anyone out? Freddie Mercury maybe? Or do Rod Stewart's leopard print pants haunt your dreams? And here's the real question. What wild look do you secretly wish you could have pulled off back in the day? Maybe a Ziggy Stardust lightning bolt across your face, Alice Cooper's eyeliner and attitude, or maybe you actually tried that. Get down in the comments and let us know. If you enjoyed our bold video today, please hit that thumbs up icon. It really helps our channel grow. Also, make sure you're subscribed to Do You Remember so you don't miss a walk down memory lane or a front row ticket to the concert. But most importantly, from my entire team here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful rockin' day. Peace now.